we've said it before. You used to be able to work retail, even if it was Sears or J.C. Penney's. You could support a family on that.
Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the day.
When things cost... Well, I shouldn't say cost. Your dollar went further.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your dollar went further.
It's just a fact that people had these jobs, worked them 50 years, had a happy family, and now their kid is a fucking lawyer or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like it just worked out better. Whatever the politics, whatever the finances, whatever society at that time, it did work out that way. It no longer does. But I always say it's just a grocery store. Like, people will even quote me on that because I said that once.
Yeah.
People will be freaking the fuck out, this and that. And it's unfortunate because back in the day, when you could support stuff, I feel like your job didn't feel that personal.
Yeah.
Because you were, you came in, you did things. But now, everybody in those kind of jobs, they're not good forever. You know what I mean?
No,
and that makes it personal.
It's not even just that.
It's like,
you can't live off of an entry-level job.
No.
You can't, sometimes even mid-level jobs, you still need, if you're with someone else, they still have to work. I mean, there's very few jobs out there where one person can work and someone else doesn't take care of the family. There's very few jobs that do that now.
Yeah.
Both have to be working. And both have to, if you want to live comfortably, you have to budget and make certain sacrifices, which you always do. I mean, my family did. I'm sure your family did.
Yeah. I mean, yes, for sure.
But
I was going to say, I didn't realize about that until later on.
It just seems now where, and it's, I almost view it as like a microcosm. What's going on around in the world is the workplace is like the perfect example of everything else that's going. There's always, and it feels like high school sometimes when I'm at work. There's this clique, there's that clique, there's this clique, there's that clique. The morning crew is against the night crew. The mid people are like set. Some are on this crew and some are on that crew. And it just seems like everyone's working at a different pace. Certain people don't really care. Some people care. You have some people that absolutely hate and despise this person. Other people try to be, a little bit more positive. And then it literally just seems like myself, and I don't want to say just myself, but it just seems like I'm standing in the middle of this entire room of people.
I'm like, why don't you just open the box and put it on the shelf and move on to the next job?
And move on to the goddamn next job.
And then maybe we make a couple jokes and go home.
Instead of cussing out another coworker or a manager or whatever, how about you shut up, do your job, because I just want to come in, clock out, go home.
Right.
That's all I want to do. But people will come up to me, and I don't know if other people do this to other people, but people will come up to me. I guess maybe it's because I'm approachable. I don't know. But they'll come up to me and say horrible things about the store, about other crew members, about management, and this and that. I'm like, God, you guys... At some point, when people are so negative, it's thrusted upon you, and you can't do anything about it except take it in and relieve. You have to somehow find a way to relieve that pressure, and that's going back to where we got in the beginning about running.
Right.
Running, actually, for a brief moment, I can go, literally, because when you start running, I listen to music.
Yeah, likewise.
Musical score from movies.
I don't even like listen. I gotta listen to music. I can't listen to like a podcast while
musical score to movies is what I listen to. Because it almost is like sort of like Mozart in my head. But as of late, the theme song to The Martian with Matt Damon.
I know you like that. Yeah.
That's the one I'm listening to right now. Because it's exactly 31 minutes. So I usually run for 31 minutes and then stop and see where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's how, And an app that you made me download actually does help too for like pacing.
No, it's good. Yeah.
But I'm finding out that instead of, one thing, exercise is good. It does help relieve that pressure that you come home with all that negativity and shit.
I know a lot of people are different, but I both think you and I benefit from physical activity.
Yeah, I do. I actually more productive when I'm more physically physically active.
I agree with that, yeah.
But I realize that my brain goes completely blank when I go running. All I care about is the next step in front of me. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, at the end of the run, it's like I have like clarity. Like I have clarity. Like you wipe the slate clean. Go. All that shit doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. All that matters is what's in front of you and what you're trying to do and the goals that you want to accomplish. Because at the end of the day, 5-10 years from now, the people you work with, will you ever see them again?
Right.
Maybe one.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
You have a few people.
A few.
You keep in your mind and you hit up.
But you're never. I mean, I don't think it's the time to. I don't know if it's beneficial to stay at one company for forever.
It no longer is.
Yeah.
That's why. What was that big?
And I think that's why a lot of companies are.
What do they call it? Soft quitting, quiet quitting. Do you know what I'm talking about? The term kind of went viral for a second, but pretty much you eventually.
I think the other term was
slow down until the point.
The Great Recession. I mean, instead of the Great Recession, it's the Great Resignation.
Oh yeah,
that's the other term I've heard.
And you know, it's a reflection of, and we'll keep kind of going back to the running, because I want to say something about that, which is based on everything, but it'll be whatever this main theme is. But really, I think self-improvement. I think also this main theme is what we discussed. Let's talk about real, let's go back to basics.
Yeah.
We tried to avoid talking about work and talking about art and stuff, but
let's open up about it. Let's actually open that book.
Part of being, I think what we both feel like part of art is an encompassing thought on life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if you're going to fucking ignore the parts you want to ignore, your art's going to suffer. So I think here we are now being like, all right, let's talk about it. But with the running thing, what I was going to say, I forget what the middle point was. What were we talking about? Clarity. Well,
being with your thoughts.
These are all the points I wanted to come back to. There was one little moment I was just saying. I really should start taking notes about being like, say this, which I'll start doing that. Maybe I'll even start doing that in this one since I brought the paper out. But for me, I feel like with the job, this is kind of like that one video we posted that you were like, yeah, it actually got the most views when I was talking about energy.
Yeah. That's $75 I made.
Yeah.
Not on someone else's watch, on my watch.
Yeah.
It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little bit, because someone actually liked what I did for 5 minutes. Or maybe they didn't like it. Who cares? They paid me.
Right.
They actually paid me to do something.
You were trusted, yeah.
And
you got to spend your time earning, doing what you're meant to do or what you love.
And so, yeah, I'm going to run.
Whatever that may be.
Run every day. I don't know. I mean, at some point, probably, yeah, I'll do a 5K. But I don't care at this moment. I just want to keep running.
Oh, I just want to do the 5K for the event. I really want to do a 5K.
I do too at some point.
Yeah.
But
I might be hanging out in the middle. But
I just want to... There's so much more to life than to just work.
Oh, yeah. But I would say the 5K, I mean, it costs a little bit of money to do, but it's also... That's a giant group of people willing to spend money to do something.
I love how dogs
whether it's for a cause or not,
acknowledge that there's a piece of glass blocking.
Like they will never. Unfortunately, that's what it's like to be a prisoner. Yeah. Just kidding.
But I don't know. I guess the theme of today, even though we had there's a lot of talk about the inconsistencies of job, the inconsistencies of how the government is, corporations are, and how the way it's set up now, it just seems like it's just set up to beat you down. Mm-hmm. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
I was about to say.
Just stop thinking about that.
And give yourself a chance. And when running, exercise, lifting, whatever it may be. And I would still like to get my training license at some point when I've earned it and deserved it. Exercise is a perfect metaphor to life. Not the perfect metaphor for 90% of jobs right now in the US.
Yeah.
Because I can run until I fucking throw up. I can run until I'm bleeding. I can lift until something gives out. I can show up. I can do it. This is me. This is the weight. This is the pace. This is my body. This is who I am. This is me dominating my mind. But when you show up to a 9 to 5 or a 6:30 to 3:30 or 6 to 2
and you put
midnight shift,
you put your blood, sweat, and tears in.
It doesn't matter how much you give. They usually want you to clock out on time. They want you to show up on time.
Take your half-hour lunch. If everything's
done take your half-hour lunch, hour lunch.
Which is not paid.
If it's all done, if it's not done, it doesn't matter how hard you work. And it also, unfortunately...
Oh, by the way, here's more
work. We have
work.
seen it. When you work harder, here's more work. It doesn't matter how hard you work. And then I think what really annoys most people is that you look around and usually...
No one else is doing work.
4 out of 10. I'll say 4 out of 10. And 4 out of 10 are not working. And they don't do anything.
Everyone makes
and
the
I don't
same
even
pay.
care. And I don't even care that they're not working. I'm almost nihilistic to the idea of it at some point. But that's what the job is now. There's no reward. And it doesn't...
And everyone gets paid the same.
Yeah.
There's no incentive to give more, work harder. Especially when you see, I always felt, when I was working for Amazon, I always felt weird when I would get, and I shouldn't, but it really helped. But I also felt weird that I was getting bonus checks. Fairly large bonus checks for things that were hit. But none of the people under me were getting them. So a lot of the time, I would try to give as much of that to the people that helped me the most. Basically, it was the few people that were under me. Like I bought whiskey for one bottle of whiskey for one guy. I bought a pair of shoes that they wanted, stuff like that. I think one time I got pizza for everyone. And then I realized, well, there goes my bonus check because I'm doing for everyone.
Right.
I don't know. The way the workplace is now set up, it's everyone is gunning for that job up here because you get all the incentives, max amount of pay, and it seems like you get the least amount of responsibility, but in theory, and the way I look at it...
You get yelled at a little bit more when the big ones come up.
The more you go up, I think should be even harder every time you go up. Maybe not physically, but you're dealing with everyone. You're making the decisions. All the stress is on you.
I will say something. I don't know. It's not philosophical. It's theoretical. About businesses now. I think it's probably easier to make money than ever for these companies.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what job you work for. They have realized you don't need ground level good workers. You barely need to pay them because somebody will always, they know the necessity of a job. They know somebody will show up. They can put a patty on a grill. They can open a box and put it on the shelf. They know somebody will always replace that. And then they have the managers. And there's no joy left in almost any company. But then you hire these managers that have been beaten into submission, not even earned it. Just spent the time and said yes to the higher-ups. And now you have a slew of managers, district-wide, countrywide, who are willing to cut hours, to fuck over these bottom-level people who are desperate for their bonuses because they used to be there, but they dealt with that shit for 10 years. They might have dealt with it for 2 months, but they fucked over enough people and corporate went, good job. Money, 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 money. The amount being paid doesn't translate to the cost of living anymore at a ground level. You almost need to be a manager to feel like you have a foot ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
And then once you become in the retail business, once you become the head honcho of one building, they pretty much have a gun to your head. The company. There's no good company. I don't know who is rewarding anybody. I mean, they're out there. They have to be out there in some sense. But it's not, because we wouldn't be talking about it.
There are good companies.
The goal is, but they're small.
Yeah.
They're small, and it's 50 people, 100 people, maybe a couple hundred people. But they all have the same plan, and it's smaller. You got places like, and this isn't shitting on Walmart, because honestly, Walmart doesn't even sound like the villain anymore of the world when they used to, in a way, for being a monopoly or anything. They're no longer the monopoly.
They would never hire people for full-time. So you got part-time work. Amazon does the same thing.
I was about to say, there's companies Target I could say too.
Does the same thing.
And for what? For a healthcare that, even if they take care of half of it, you can't fully afford if you need something?
Well, mine is fairly cheap, and I do. No, there's things in my company. Mine's
not fully cheap, and mine's not. It's actually. I just found out it's not. It's actually very. It's not cheap what I have, and it's also very selective where I can use it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm saying is that from the top, and I always say when I'm in the workplace, when they're like, why the fuck are they yelling at me about this? Or like, fucking the manager came in, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you got to realize, even when the district manager shows up, this is a trickle down.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting screamed at. And I don't think the people on top realize
the trickle-down effect?
Yeah, the trickle-down effect. Because they just realize, like, I got to be a fucking hard-ass, and it doesn't matter if it really makes sense or not. But if they can cut 30 seconds off of production on this item, this item, this item, this item, that equates to $1,500 in a year. And if I yell at 10 stores, that's $150 in a year, or whatever the math is, 15. They look at it that way. They show up for 30 minutes. They fuck on you for 2 hours. And then they dip. And all of a sudden you have a store worth of people whose month is ruined because they're trying to live up to these unbelievable expectations just to make these top dogs a little bit more money when they're already getting way more money. But the reason they're freaking the fuck out is because it's everybody in existence are paying more, and they want to still be
I never understood
the lavish, and I ain't got nothing wrong with that. It's just I want everybody to live healthy, happy, peacefully, like we've been saying recently, with love. But those big people, they're losing their fucking cars. Yeah, they're losing all their shit that they were used to having at that position.
But do you need like
you don't need any of that.
A CEO,
but you're trying to keep up with it.
CEO makes, let's say, $20 million in a year.
Mm-hmm.
What if he makes $15 million? That's still a lot of money. They always want to make more money than the year before, which realistically, yes, can we do that? Is how
you should progress as a human being.
But if you broke
you should always
even,
be pushing for
if you broke even, is that not a bad thing? You don't want to lose. But if you're still making a shit ton of money, even if you make a little bit less, you're still making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And again, the top is always going to put it down on the low.
Which is, how it works.
How it works. And I get that.
From the beginning of time to the end of time.
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
It's always been like that. And you're never going to have a perfect society. There's never going to be a utopia. But then on top of... So going from job to now, the other thing that just kind of just rips your heart out. Again, the job is the microcosm of the macrocosm. The macrocosm being the entire country or the entire world. You got what we're doing right now in the United States. You get taxed on your paycheck that is getting you by, but barely getting you by. You're getting taxed on your income. You're getting taxed for Social Security. You're getting taxed for Medicare, Medicaid, all that shit. And then there's all these other deductions. And if you do have health insurance, that comes out of your check. And so by the time you look at your check, you're like, damn, I got to pay this bill, that bill, that bill, that bill, that bill. And then if you have a house, especially now, which to me right now, buying a house doesn't make sense unless you can buy it straight cash. Because I was telling you earlier.
Right. But it's worth saying for the people at home.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like sitting here listening. It's like, yes,
recap.
We talk a lot.
I forget who it was in Los Angeles, but someone was telling me if you bought the median house right before I moved, I think it was $900,000 or $950,000 a year for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with a living room, all that stuff in Los Angeles was almost $1 million. If you you got to put down 10, 20%. That's anywhere from 90 grand to 100 grand, 180 grand if you're doing 10 or 20%. So and then you have to have homeowners insurance, which is insanely high now because homeowners insurance is skyrocketing everywhere. Florida and California, particularly because of hurricanes and fires and earthquakes.
And in general, whether you agree with what's happening in the climate or not, weather ain't been good.
but
you know what I mean? The probability, which is what insurance is basing on the probability of your shit being fucked up.
Yeah, but
has been going up.
Here's the fucking shit. Here's the fucking crazy shit.
Imagine trying to fucking franchise a Walgreens right now.
Oh, and right now, from what I hear, Walgreens is doing terrible financially.
Yeah.
But you buy a house. Someone told me if you bought a house at the interest you pay today, I think it's like just under 7%. I forget 6.8 or 5. I forget 6.85. I don't remember. It's just under 7%. 30-year mortgage. You buy it for like $300 grand. You're gonna pay during that 30-year mortgage. You're gonna pay 3 times the amount. So like if you get 300 grand, I think it's like 600 grand worth of interest just to pay off the house. So you're going to be paying almost $1 million. Again, my math might be totally off, but you're paying way more.
Yeah.
You're paying way more in the 30 years to officially finally buy the house when you could have taken that extra money that you're paying the bank. You could have taken that and invested somewhere else, like buying a plot of land, investing in stocks or whatever, and make way more money. And the fucked up thing is with houses, you can't just sell a house like you can a stock.
Now, sometimes it takes years, or you fucking cut it and you just get.
And then you have to pay somebody to do all the paperwork and everything, and then that costs money. So at the end of the day, are you really?
And I would even say, with the way things are going right now, why buy a fucking house when fucking movie theaters, restaurants, grocery stores, whatever the fuck you can think, are closing down everywhere. It doesn't fucking matter where you at. It's shutting down. And then what are you going to do? Try to save a couple bucks going to an area that's going to be developed in 15 years, and you don't think the price of everything is just going to keep going up? Because you're the first person.
Well, and then you told me that with new houses, you were telling me one guy you work with, the new houses that are built now, after like 8 or 10 years, they start falling apart.
Oh, so fuck, what are they called? Yes.
You're spending $350,000. I think the average home in Florida is like $350,000 or $400,000.
They're making IKEA is making houses now.